So I really think that because real estate's sexy, right? Everyone thinks that everyone wants to be in it, but not everyone's made for real estate. We know that. I believe there's a class of people that want to be in it because it's sexy, but really don't want it. They want a water cooler story. And I think those are perfect lenders. And part of the payment might be a story every month that they can bring back and talk to about around the job and tell them. I haven't actually done that, but I really think that's people. They want that story almost more than income.
Welcome to the Bar Down Investing Show. Here are your hosts, Kyle Wilson and Jay Scott.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Bar Down Investing Show. I'm your host, Kyle, affectionately known as Ashley Wilson's husband, once again joined by Mr. Jay Scott. How's it going, Jay?
I am doing well. Good day.
Yeah, we had a great time in Sarasota. I came down to visit and finally got to taping some drunk real estate episodes. So we have quite a few in the queue here. Let's start off with the first one. We have Adrian and Tom that we recorded in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Adrian and Tom, two of my friends. That's the nice thing about recording locally here in the Tampa, Sarasota area. I get to talk to some of my friends. Adrian Smude is a mobile home investor. And not mobile home parks, individual mobile homes. And he talks all about why he chose that asset class and why it works so well for him. And it's just a good reminder that we can be successful in any asset class that we pursue if we do it correctly. And then secondly, we have Tom Zeeb, and Tom is a transplant to Sarasota, Tampa area. He moved down here last year. He actually used to live up where I grew up near Washington, D.C. And Tom runs a couple real estate investor associations, RIAs, one in D.C., one down here in Florida, part of the National RIA. And one of the big things that Adrian and Tom both have in common is that they are amazing at marketing, at basically figuring out how to generate business for them, whether it's deals, mobile home park deals for mobile home deals for Adrian, whether it's bringing people to his RIA for Tom, or finding wholesale deals or flip deals for Tom. These guys just are really great at marketing. And so a lot of our discussion today focuses around real estate marketing. But we also talk about things like shiny object syndrome. We talk about things like if you're pursuing an asset class or an investing strategy, how long do you give it before you say, hey, this is working or this isn't working? How do you pivot? Where do you head next? And where are these guys heading next, given where the economy is today? So a lot of great discussion today. So with that said, let's welcome Adrian Smude and Tom Zeeb to the show.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Drunk Real Estate, brought to you by Bar Down Investing Show. I'm your host, Kyle. I'm once again babysat by Jay. Make sure to keep me in line. And we have a couple of great guests here. We have Tom and Adrian. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about what you do in real estate, and more importantly, what are you drinking?
I'm Adrian Smude, and I buy single unit mobile homes with the dirt. So it's a real estate transaction. It's on only one unit, and I rent them out very, very long term. And I am drinking a milk stout. I think it's a chocolate milk stout, to be exact.
It's like dessert.
Yes.
My name's Tom Zeeb. I'm primarily a wholesaler, like to market, negotiate for properties, and then sell them to other investors that want to do all the work that I just don't want to do. And I'm drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Nice. And then Jay, you had to double down. Last episode, you did a Moscow Mule, but you couldn't just get a normal Moscow Mule. It had to be a raspberry fruit Moscow Mule. So I made a comment about it, and you doubled down and went even fruitier.
I didn't even want this drink. This is a full-on FU to you, Kyle. I got a blue Hawaiian. I don't know what it is, but it just sounded like the most fruity drink there was. So FU, Kyle.
Perfect. Well, we had an agenda, but I have to start with the elephant in the room, and we got to talk about the getup we have going on right now. I don't think anyone could see, but you have the matching shoes. He's actually got the matching cell phone case. So obviously you're a big marketing guy. So let's talk a little bit about how marketing plays into your business.
And let me just say, starting off, anybody that lives in Sarasota, anybody that lives in Tampa, if I were to say, if they have anything to do with real estate investing, if I were to say the guy that wears the yellow shirt, everybody knows I'm talking. They may not know Adrian's name, but they know, oh, it's the mobile home park guy. Yes, he wears this shirt every day, those shoes every day, that cell phone case every day. So that's his brand.
So if you Google the yellow guy, it comes up with the man in the yellow hat and him, right?
Something like that. Yeah, Curious George and Adrian.
Actually, so one thing that pushed me to continue doing this is my friend Googled, this is years ago, real estate t-shirts. And my t-shirt came up on the first page. And that helped prove to me the power of consistency of marketing.
It's hard to beat.
And I am not seen in public without the shirt on, except for every once in a while, I will put a different color on because it kind of breaks Facebook because people go crazy. Like, how are you wearing a blue shirt? Well, it's the consistency.
Laundry day, right?
Yeah. Well, laundry is all the same color. But it's really just consistency of the marketing. I like to be different. A long time ago, you remember the shirt said "I buy houses" and it was the black and white. It's like, well, that doesn't really work for me. I like to be different. So the original shirt for the buying brand is "My wife buys mobile homes," and because I already knew women are better for marketing, no one wants to talk to us.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And then it's about someone else, and it kind of stuck. So then I continued doing it, and I actually at the very beginning it had the word houses, and as I niched down to mobile homes, I got rid of the word houses.
So how does that tie into your overall marketing strategy? So obviously that's just one small part. Like people are going to know who you are, but how does that tie into the grander scheme?
Was you kind of gave the intro. People know me by yellow. I didn't plan that out, but I get every week or two, someone sends me a picture of someone running in yellow or high heel for women's shoes in yellow. I'm getting pictures from all over the country because people now think of me with yellow because I'm always wearing it. One of my friends calls me a construction worker, but they think of me. It's a continuous thinking. I mean, look at AT&T no longer has their name on. It's only the globe. A lot of companies moved to just brand recognition. I never thought I would do that. And then the t-shirt became the brand. I'm not the genius. It just worked. And as I got feedback, I just continued to do it over and over and tweaked from masterminds and just feedback from people.
And so I know I want to transition to Tom a little bit. So Tom, you and I have known each other a couple of years. So you run a couple RIAs, Traction RIA up in DC, which is part of National RIA. You also have one down here, Traction RIA down here in Sarasota. So obviously part of being successful in the RIA market, if that's the right way to call it, is the ability to market.
Yeah.
And so I know you do real estate as well. But you also market the business, the RIA business. So what's your perspective on marketing generally as it relates? Because we don't talk enough about marketing in this business. We talk about the nuts and bolts. We don't talk enough about the marketing. So how do you focus on your marketing for your business and for your real estate?
Nobody talks enough about the marketing side. That's the strangest thing because I don't know. I think marketing's kind of sexy and fun. It's certainly the lifeblood of the business, and yet it's also the most mysterious. And I think some things just happen, and people don't seem to get why. I break marketing down to three things that make it. The first part being the market. So that's the who. Who are we after? You got to clearly define what kind of motivated sellers are you after? What kind of motivated sellers are you looking for? What is it that motivates them? Then that moves you to part two, which is the message. What specifically do you say to them? If somebody's getting divorced, or somebody's inheriting a property, or somebody's a tire landlord, what on earth, what do you say? Like, how do you connect specifically the message to market match? Then the third part's the mystery. It's multiplication, it's repetition. It is how often you just repeat what it is you say. How many times have you seen the t-shirt? How many times have you seen the ad online? How many times have you gotten the postcard, gotten the letter? If you don't have any repetition, you got nothing.
I love that. And so again, we don't think enough about marketing, but when you break it down, you realize that marketing really is just like anything else. It's a process. And we talk about like the art of marketing but I think that doesn't give it enough credit. Anybody can be good at marketing. Anybody can be good at creating that process or replicating that process. It really is more of a science. Obviously, there's an art involved. You have to be good at it, but it's not one of those things that you either have it or you don't. Anybody can do it.
Absolutely. Science all the way.
So what is obviously you guys aren't just doing this yourselves. What does your kind of marketing team or marketing system look like at this point?
I have been doing it myself. I mean, for the
Same
longest
here.
time, I don't want to be doing a ton of it myself, but one of the biggest things I got from Grant Cardone, actually two, is omnipresence. So my shirt is everywhere. I'm always something yellow, and then just the imperfect action. Just post it. I remember him saying a crappy video on social media is better than no video. So I don't watch any of my videos. I barely even look at the photos and stuff I post on there because then I'm gonna find an excuse not to post it. And I found when I look like this or I look all weird, then I get more comments.
So you're not like my wife who does 20 takes before she posts a video.
No, I just get it out there, and then people make fun of it or they like it, and either way, it does really well. And I believe in the 70-30, so 70% fun and like 30% actually sales. So I can post all day. I buy mobile homes. I'm not gonna get much, but if I have my shirt on and I'm in front of a beautiful waterfall or mountains, and they're like, "Oh, do you buy mobile homes? What about the other 35 posts last week?"
Right.
It's just about having fun.
So
It fits my personality.
So where do you focus? Do you focus a lot on the online marketing, or are you more, guerrilla stuff?
I'm a networker. I love talking to people and being around people. So RIAs, I go to RIAs all the time. At one point, I was going to 4 to 8 a week, which means that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner some days. And I'm consistent because we know that most people don't consistently go to RIAs. There's a high turnover. So then I prove to people I'm going to be there. I'm for real. And then this is more memorable than any other something that you change all the time, a different color. So it's easier for me to break in. And online's the same thing. It's just a digital form of networking. So I'm just consistently there. I go to groups, bigger pockets. I remember I just would just post and they're welcoming people, and I still get people from 3, 4, 5 years ago reach out to me from posting, and it's just whatever I can do to try to help in some way.
What about you, Tom? Where would you say you put your focus in marketing, and what is your do you have a team that helps you out with this, or are you doing it yourself too?
Mostly me, one virtual assistant that does some things, but for the most part, I know people are always disappointed. They expect there's going to be a big operation. It's reminders on my calendar to do this mailing, do that mailing. And a lot of my stuff is mailing driven, it's direct mail. So I want to, there's postcards, there's letters, there's different campaigns that are going out. And my repetition cycle is literally just needs to be notated on the calendar. So I have no interest in having employees. Most of the entrepreneurs I talk to, the number one thing they can't stand in life is the fact that they've wound up with employees. Maybe it's self-selected. Maybe it's the people I talk to, but they just seem miserable with it. And I go, I'm a much better leader than I am a manager, so I've avoided having employees as well.
Yeah, and so something I heard from both of you, and this is kind of my view on marketing. It's evolved to this over the few years, and it's obvious now. And I probably should have realized it 10 years ago. But Adrian, you used the word consistency. Tom, you alluded to consistency and just over and over and over. And I love the term you use. I hate to give Grant Cardone any credit here, but I will. Um, the whole imperfect. What was it again?
Well, so I got from another friend massive imperfect action, but I think that's what he really meant.
Yeah, massive imperfect action, meaning just do shit. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it and you do it consistently and you get out there. We often hear like bad press is still, you'd rather have bad press than no press. And we see that all the time, like people doing stupid stuff and getting their name out there. And you think, oh, I'd hate to be that person. But let me tell you something. If you know how to get that to work for you, there's advantages there. And so I think when it comes to marketing, like that's the big word. It's just consistency, 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 even if you don't do things perfectly or even as well as you want.
The one piece to add on to the massive imperfect action is then ask for help. Because if imperfect implies we're going to fail. So like the Failing Forward by John Maxwell, you take a little action, fail. But then if you have people that ask for help that are ahead of you, then you can succeed.
I find it amusing how many different guru names come up or famous book names come up. And probably everybody's read those or heard about them. But how many are actually doing doing anything that they thought. It's just well, are we anything magical, or are we just implementing what we've been told? You got to implement it. It doesn't grow arms and legs on its own. We have to do something to make it happen.
Yeah, there are a lot of books though, and a lot of how tos and do all this stuff. But it's a lot better listening to people who actually do it to figure out. Okay, in practice, yes, I can read a book and I could say, okay, do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to be successful. But then to look at guys like you and say, like, okay, I don't need a full marketing team. I don't need, I could just do it with a virtual assistant, or I could just do it by going to RIAs and stuff like that. It's a lot more beneficial for people to actually hear that and say, okay, this is a more logical, attainable step than these 84 things I should be doing.
I think it's a lot more straightforward than people think. People want to get bogged down in the details, but you really need to float up to the 10,000-foot conceptual level and just go with it.
And education without action is just entertainment. And that's where we see a lot of people just sit and analysis paralysis, but they don't ever do anything. And then
there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's probably most of our audience watching Drunk Real Estate.
But here's the funny thing. I hear people all the time that go to some high-priced seminar, some high-priced program. They don't take action, but they don't regret it. And so to them, it is it's entertainment. And to them, the value of the entertainment, the value of sitting there, maybe it's networking, maybe it's listening, whatever it is, the value is there. I'd like to think that everybody should be taking action and getting more value than just the entertainment. But it's a really good point that there are a lot of people out there that are perfectly happy not taking action, but just kind of being involved. I don't know what to make of that.
So I really think that because real estate's sexy, right? Everyone thinks that everyone wants to be in it, but not everyone's made for real estate. We know that.
Mhm.
I believe there's a class of people that want to be in it because it's sexy, but really don't want it. They want a water cooler story. And I think those are perfect lenders. And part of the payment might be a story every month that they can bring back and talk to about around the job and tell them. I haven't actually done that, but I really think that's people. They want that story almost more than the income.
Well, let me ask you a question, Tom. So obviously you run a couple of RIAs, big RIAs. And so you see a lot of people that are excited about getting into this business when they come and join you for that first meeting or that second meeting or that third meeting. And some percentage of them are going to take action and be super successful. Some percentage of them are not. So for anybody that's listening right now, what can they or should they be doing personally so that if they go to a RIA meeting or they sign up for a seminar or they sign up for a course, what should they be doing so that they can show up and get the most out of it and have the highest probability of actually walking out of there and then taking action?
Excellent question. Pay attention to like that little voice in your head. Pay attention to what is that you actually want. Because like we were talking about, some of those people that they really just want basically a stock market investment, but they want it backed by real estate, you're probably best off as a private lender. Invest in other people's deals. And you might meet those people at the group. You might meet those people at an event. Great. Other people want to do the stuff themselves. So they're great talking on the phone. They're really good dealing with it. Then pursue that. The cool thing about real estate is there's enough different facets of it that you're going to be fine no matter what you do. But you got to find the facet that you're actually good at, that your personality type fits for. Don't try to stick your round peg in someone else's square hole. Find what works for you. There's something there that works for you. You got to find out what it is. If that means cross training for a few months to understand the situation, great. And then zoom in on what you need.
I've got a follow-up question on that then. How does someone know how long to be in this shiny object syndrome? And when should they just say, all right, 6 months, a year? What's that time frame that someone should just say, I am picking something?
Yeah. Is there an exact amount of time? A year feels too long. 6 months feels like we're coming right up on it. Maybe in 4 months you haven't cross-trained enough. Maybe in 8 months is too much. So I'm feeling like that tipping point's around 6 months. It's going to vary for everybody a little bit, right? But feel where you're at. But when you look at a particular kind of technique and you go, that's awesome, I would love to do that. Bingo, you're there. If you look at something and go, well, that's kind of cool. That's interesting, but I don't see myself doing it. Awesome, be happy. You just know something that you find interesting, but you don't want to do it. Move on to the next one. So it's a process of elimination as well as a process of self-selection.
Well, you don't have to necessarily just jump in on your own either. Like if you look at Jay coming into multifamily, it's not like Jay's like, oh, I really like the space of multifamily. I'm going to go and try and buy a 150 unit by myself.
Yeah.
He looked around and he said, okay, who's doing this space that I respect and work well with? And it said, hey, can I, is there something I could do to partner with you and help out and be part of this? And that's literally how he met my wife. And it was one of those, okay, if it didn't work out, it wasn't really high stakes because he wasn't the lead and he wasn't, the high role that he is now. But it did work out. So, and it would have only taken a few months. So you don't necessarily, if you're going to RIAs and stuff, you can say, hey, I find somebody who's doing what you think you want to do. How can I add value to
And
them?
follow on. But Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a point where you went, I'm interested in that. That sounds good. That's the outcome I want. I'm willing to do the work to get there. And then you went and found the people that could fill in the gap between where you are today and where you wanted to be.
100%. But I'd be lying if I said that was the first thing that came to my mind where I said, okay, this is for me. I'm going to go do that. There were a number of things that I looked at. I looked at leaving real estate back in 2017, 18, because I had flipped 450 houses. I was completely burned out. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do next. And so for me, that was let's spend some time with somebody that knows what they're doing, that knows the business, that can help me determine, is this the right path for me? And I actively went in with the attitude, not necessarily that I'm going to be a multifamily investor and I'm going to do this for 10 years. I'm going to make $1 billion. I went in with the attitude, I'm going to do this for 6 months and see if this is something that matches my personality, that matches my skill set, that matches my interest, that matches my time commitment, that matches all these other things that I might have to offer. And if so, then I will commit. And so for me, it was, and I think this is the difference between me and what I see a lot of newbies doing. I probably did this myself as a newbie, but having been in the business for 10 years at that point, what I realized was it wasn't a good idea to commit day one, say, this looks good, this sounds good, and put all my eggs in that basket. Instead, I said, this sounds like something I want to investigate. Let me take a few months. Let me find somebody that really knows this space that can help me determine, is this the path for me? So that in 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or 12 months, I can either cut bait and go find something else, or I can say, this is what I'm doing for the next 10 or 20 years.
And you brought up earlier, Adrian, about like, oh, the perfect candidate for a lender or perfect. There's many ways to partner too. Like we raise capital for our deals and we have limited partners, and you could literally invest in our deal and see the inner workings of everything that happens in our deal. And so if you're looking to get into the space, but you're like, it's a big undertaking to say, okay, I all of a sudden want to just start doing large commercial multifamily by $20 million, $30 million, $40 million properties. It's a big commitment. But if you can say, hey, either you can provide value actively or passively, in your case, if maybe lend someone like you money in that space, or in us invest passively in one of our deals, kind of look at everything that's getting done, the monthly newsletters, get a couple phone calls with the sponsors, figure out what's going on. Then you can figure out, okay, is this something that I want to kind of take further?
And it's also, for me, that's my way of diversifying around the country, because I want location and different types of investments. I've been in self-storage. I'm looking at mobile home parks. I actively make my money in one little niche. I'm really good at it. And then I will take my money and give it to other people and learn a little bit and have maybe the story or something. But really, I'm just diversifying and sticking to what I'm really good at actively.
So are you actively looking to get into another space, or you're happy with your space and you just like to, it's like a stock market diversification, but outside the stock market?
Actively, I'm looking to stay in exactly what I do.
But let's
passively,
let's get into this a
my
little
money
bit, because I have never, and I think this is a good thing, I have never heard of somebody doing what you're doing. So originally I heard you were mobile homes, and what did I assume? I assume, oh, he's buying mobile home parks. He's buying the parks. He's renting out the spaces. and that's not what you do, right?
Yeah. So that is the common. I have to like 3-4 times correct people. I don't do the parks, which is more the reason why this is such a hidden niche. I don't know why people don't think about it. It's a single unit with the dirt that people don't. Like the branding, it's different, and people don't go and look at it when it's this middle class within the mobile home space. It's not the mobile home within the park, like the Lonnie deals that you talked about. You started with. And then I make good money with those, and then for diversification, instead of me going and learning multifamily, that's a whole nother thing to learn. I'm too lazy to do that. I just would rather give some money to someone else that's already has systems and everything set up, and I can continue doing what I'm
How did
good
you
at.
end up in that space? It's fascinating to me that like what was the process of where did you start and made your way to
I started as a terrible tenant. At 20 years old, we had spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties.
I don't even want to know what a spaghetti wrestling party is.
We parked motorcycles.
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah, I'm lying. I actually do want to know.
problem.
But
I don't know
I'm not gonna
how to
ask.
break it down more than that. We wrestled in spaghetti.
Spaghetti's cheaper than Jello.
And we had the mud, and I think I said pudding, and we had all these parties. So obviously, we're not a fan by the landlord. So we got evicted multiple times, and this is 20 years ago. I was 20 years old. That's when they gave houses away. Remember, you barely sign your name, and I got the house for $1,500. I moved in, moved the same friends in, and then I bought a few more houses. I lost my.
When you owned it, did you still have spaghetti wrestling parties, or did you say like,
I understood what it was like. We did have some parties, and I got stricter and stricter, and I'm still friends with the guys. How about that? But
he
it
has the
sucked.
parties at their house now.
It did suck for a bit. My second house I lost as a short sale. It was an ARM, the adjustable remortgage, and real estate goes straight up, blah, blah, blah. It was one of the best things that happened to me, even though I lost it, because it made me very conservative. And then I bought a few more houses, but that conservative piece, for the last 7 years, I thought we were at the top of the market. So I've been extremely wrong, but that made me pivot to something else that cash flowed. And that's how I found mobile homes. I talked to the old school guy, girl in the back of the room that if they have hair, it's usually a little shiny. And they talk about mobile homes.
And so, Tom, I want to ask you kind of the same question because you do a lot of wholesales. You do a lot of flips. And I know a lot of people, they think of wholesaling as something you graduate from at some point. You move from wholesaling to flips or to rentals or to multifamily or to self-storage. But I don't want to answer this question for you. So I'm just going to ask you, why have you stuck with wholesales?
I think because I've recognized that, everyone's talking about different exit strategies. Jay, I'd argue there's an obsession with exit strategy, which doesn't really matter to me. You want to do, you want to do commercial, you want to do rehabs, you want to do buy and hold of any different form. You want to do Airbnb, you want to do wholesale. Those are exit strategies. They're all still doing the exact same thing at the beginning. They're marketing to find a property. They're negotiating to make it into a deal. Then they're putting it under contract and controlling it through till settlement. Then you get to choose all those different exit strategies. So I just decided that my favorite exit strategy is the wholesaling. I do some rehabs. I do some rentals. I usually live to regret that to a degree. Let's be quite honest. But they're the same thing until I make that decision about how to exit. So why not just take the exit that gets me my cash quickly? Some people say because that's just a business. Now it's like a job. You have to constantly keep going at it. I go, well, I guess it's like a job if you consider it the fact that every payout could be what I used to make in a year at a job. I'm not that worried about it then. Yes, admittedly, wholesaling is not particularly an investment. I've got to keep doing it in order to make more money. But if it's enough money, I don't care. So I'm happy with the rehabs. Let me put it this way. I love having rehabs. I don't always love rehabbing. I get tired of it after a while. That's a personality thing for me. It's just the way it kind of adds up. And rentals, I lost my first rental on a short sale as well. My very first deal was a 6-unit building. Lost it on a short sale eventually. And I've been kind of hesitant about them ever since. But then I got into some rentals because you think, I'm going to get appreciation. It's going to flow. It's going to be good. My heart always comes back to wholesaling. It's just me.
Yeah, and let me it was sort of a trick question because what I was thinking of when I was
You
asking you
knew
the
the
question
answer.
was that, like, I flipped 450 houses before I moved into multifamily. If I were smarter in retrospect, I would have wholesaled a whole lot more houses. Because let me tell you something, flipping is tiring. Flipping, it took a toll, and there were a whole lot of deals where I look back and I realized I probably could have made almost as much money with a whole lot less work, or I could have scaled and done a whole lot more deals. And so I didn't mean that to be like a if anything, it was I wish I had gone more
It was
down
a
that
leading
path when I
question.
did it.
Yeah, I get it. I look at some of these rehabs going, hey, I make 40 grand on every deal. Like, oh, how long does it take you? It takes 4 months. Like, well, so if I only made 10 grand on every deal and I do 4 in 4 months, aren't we at the same amount?
Well, since we have you here, Tom, and since you have these multiple RIAs, you would have a finger on the pulse of where things are going or where things should be going. Where people are always talking about right now how there's going to be opportunity. It's going to be opportunity whenever fearful versus aggressive, and like there should be opportunity somewhere. Where do you see people pivoting to, or where do you think the opportunity is going to be?
Yeah, pivot's almost always kind of the operative word lately, right? You know what? COVID came and it was pivot, and then it was this pivot back and then change. Yes, you have to because there's always winners and there's always losers, no matter what happens. So something goes horrible, most people are bleeding senseless, but there's people doing great, and then other times you think people are going to do great, and people get kind of hit pretty heavy. I encourage everyone from an investor perspective, particularly a real estate investor perspective, stay nimble and pay attention so that you can move where you need to be when you need to be there. Maybe the path you're thinking of doesn't work out as well for you at a given moment, but then shift to something else and then shift back when the time is right, and you'll be all right. I'm a little foggy about what exactly the future holds. People have a lot of rosiness. I'm not so sure. I've got some. Honestly, I've got some nervousness going forward. I think it's hard to say what. So I think it's hard to say what's going to happen. So I like to keep. I know I'm going to stay nimble and move to whatever is working given the moment. Whether the market goes up, whether it goes down, whether it stays flat and slides sideways, there's techniques in real estate investing that will make me money, and I'm going to shift to those as the market dictates.
What would you say that the people who attend your RIAs, what would their opinion be? Where do you see like the shift? Like I'm guessing that pre-COVID interest rates, all this stuff, there was probably a lot more flippers coming into the
A lot
RIAs.
of flippers, right? A lot of, hey, let's buy it because there's error correction built in. If it takes me a month longer, it doesn't matter. It'll go up 10 grand. Some of that has calmed down, obviously. I think there's been an anxiety about getting cash flow, but there's also been an anxiety about having too much exposure financially out there. And so trying to bridge that gap for people has been interesting. I think getting into certain funds can balance you out. Doing a lot of work on your own maybe takes on too much. It's like every other time. You got to make sure you're buying a good deal from the get-go. Buy it right, market to the right kind of people, negotiate a fantastic deal, make sure the numbers actually work, and you'll be fine. Because you're not holding, if you're doing a wholesaler rehab, you're not holding on to it for long term. So I don't think anything's going to shift that fast. But anything longer term, you want to pay attention to the numbers and make it make sense.
I can't think of another way to ask you to lock you in on making an actual prediction. So
I
I'll
can't.
shift.
But I told you,
I know.
I think things are actually not looking that rosy. So, right, my prediction is not that rosy. So therefore, you need to stay nimble and deal with what comes, because I don't see a great next few years. I hate to say it.
So in the words of Mr. T from Rocky 3, my prediction is pain.
Pain. I hate to say it, right? No, it bothers me, but I don't think we're getting honest information from anybody.
Yep.
Like, I don't see honest information coming out of the news. It's one of the big things I teach in negotiation is like the power of the printed word. You believe what you see on the news. You believe what you read in the newspaper. It's all fake. It's all nonsense. So how am I supposed to know, and how am I supposed to make a decision? The only thing I can do is double down, triple down, quadruple down on those basic skills: marketing, negotiation, knowing how to control a deal so that I get paid no matter what.
Yeah, that's great. So Adrian, you seem pretty set in your primary business, but then you also, I heard you mention that you take, some of your income that you make and you invest it passively in other different things. How do you choose where you're going to invest those passive things? And has that shifted at all in the last couple of years?
Well, the passive is really more the person than it is the asset class, because I'm investing in the person that when things go wrong, because it will at some point, that they're going to make the right decisions and they're going to do the hard things and have the conversations. I do like self-storage because it's more of a business. I unfortunately think our government's going anti-landlord. So I like the diversification of self-storage just to give me something else. I like location. So I'm in Florida where we have hurricanes and mobile homes are not friendly with hurricanes. They become hurricane missiles. So I do like, I mean, we've fared well through the hurricanes here. A lot of the mobile homes I own have been through more hurricanes than I have, but I still like a diversification. It's really more about the person than it is asset class because they're all going to work. I don't like the real high end. That I would be a little less apt to go into, but if it's something in the middle, it's the person more than the asset class.
So let me curtail this into a would you rather then. We'll make it a bit of a drinking game. So
Appropriate.
if you were given $100,000 and you had to invest passively in a syndication somewhere, would you rather invest that in self-storage, a mobile home park, or a multifamily syndication?
Well, you didn't tell me who's running each of those. but-
Same
Oh, wait,
operator.
same operator?
Yeah.
Right now, I would go to the self-storage because it's the furthest away from what I'm doing. So it's going to give me the most diversification. And then I would probably, I like the mobile home parks. I don't know. It would be between the mobile home park and multifamily because I really like further away just to be extra safe with it.
I like that answer. I mean, at the end of the day, we focus our time, our money, our expertise on whatever it is we know the best. But then we get this passive income that we need to deploy, and deploying that in a diversified fashion is really smart. And when we talk about diversification, what does that mean? That means investing in something that is as negatively correlated to what we're currently investing in as possible. And what I mean by that is if what we're currently investing in goes up, we want the other thing we're investing in to go down and vice versa, so that if in the worst case, if something bad happens to one side, something good is happening to the other side. And so we're mitigating our risk. And I agree. Self-storage is a great diversification asset, especially heading into a recession. I mean, the reality is in the U.S., people are attached to their stuff. And if we head into a recession, if people start downgrading their housing, if they start moving in with family, if they start moving in with roommates, and they don't have enough room for their stuff, people don't like to sell their stuff. They're very attached to it. So what do? They pay ridiculous amounts of money to throw it in.
$200 worth of stuff in $100 a month storage
Exactly,
unit.
that they'll keep for 5 years. People in the U.S. are really bad at math. And so that's displayed no better than with self-storage. And so, yeah, I like that answer a lot, I guess, is long story short.
There's some other asset classes that I like, but I'm not the business person, like the coin laundry. I think they have a lot of things similar to the self-storage and the mobile home park. It was a lot of mom and pop ran. They're now getting out of it. They're retiring. They ran it as a crappy business. You can't go buy their books at all. And there's value out of just turning it into a business. And I haven't seen a lot of people in the coin laundry. I'm starting to hear a little bit more, but that's really why mobile home parks and self-storage got so big. Is they just turned it into a business instead of a hobby.
And institutions got involved a little
Yeah.
bit too, and people
Because they-
figured out, like our buddy AJ Osborne, who's in self storage. He also figured out that you can either take a smaller property and add on to it, make it bigger, or you can group some of them together. And then once you start getting big enough, then the institutional people start getting interested, and that's when you can get big money because they're willing to pay for turnkey large assets, but they don't want to write a check for $1-2 million. They want to write big checks. So if you can kind of just package that up for them, make it perfect, then that's when you can make some good money.
Those are all things though that the mom and pop investor that bought it and built it up themselves weren't willing to do. So smart people came in and filled that gap to make the money.
I suppose I like the self-storage angle on it for, I don't want to sound like a dark reason, but the people aren't involved anymore. And there's, sorry, we have to fight this constant rear guard action against everything that both state and federal and sometimes county and city legislators do against us. It's getting harder and harder to own properties, harder and harder to do anything with people in there. I mean, how long was the eviction moratorium, which was imposed by the CDC? Which what did they have to do with real estate before that? Sorry, I said it. Right? I said it irritated me. I got stuck by it on some things. I'm going, I think I'd rather have a garage full of people's stuff that they're paying me for than have to deal with people who suddenly are, I don't want the government to tell me one of my rentals, even though I had a corporate tenant, they were eligible for COVID. Well, but wait a minute, they're a corporation. They can't even get sick. It's not a real person. And so at that point, I was starting to go, maybe I want to shift a little bit because I don't think this is the last time we're going to see something rear its ugly head.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think there's something that we don't often think about, which is the degree of how high touch something is, for lack of a better term. And so there are certain things where you're going to be dealing with people day in and day out. You're going to be dealing with annoying stuff day in and day out. And then there are going to be other things that are going to be more automated, and they're going to be more, you need to deal with systems, and you need to deal with processes, and you need to deal with technology. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dealing with people. You get paid well if you're willing to deal with people. But if you're just looking to scale a business, not having people there to mess things up like we see in the multifamily space or the single family space, there's a lot to be said for that. Or in the mobile home space, there's a lot to be said for that. So businesses that can be automated and that can, for the most part, pull people out of the equation. I like that.
And people cost more than automation. And we can predict what automation costs a little bit more than where is our minimum wage going to be in a few years.
Yep.
I still stick on multifamily. Obviously, I'm a fan because we do it. People always need somewhere to live is kind of the thing that gets back to. And there's just a couple quirks with self storage and mobile home that I can't get past. If you tell me, are you picking an exceptional operator in each of those, then I might go self storage. I just think you really need to have your finger on the pulse in self storage because self storage has that nuance that at any time someone could just build one right next to it and relatively quickly, and supply can just all of a sudden go up like that. So that's if you really know what you're doing and you really have, and you can really time that, and if you're big enough, to be honest, to kind of snuff that out and take care of it.
So just to play devil's advocate, why is multifamily different?
You can't just
build that.
Well, first of all, you can't build a B class multifamily.
Sure.
You can't build a 20-year-old apartment complex. It's literally impossible. Now I shouldn't say that. There's LIHTC, affordable housing, stuff like that. So you can build, more affordable housing technically, but you can't build a 20-year-old apartment. And there's a lot of red tape. Like, it just takes a lot longer when we're dealing with residential. Like, there's all these rules, there's NIMBYism, there's zoning, there's all these different things. Not that there isn't zoning for self-storage, but self-storage is typically more industrial areas, more non-residential areas. And in just that whole supply thing, if you aren't really, really good at figuring that out, to me, you can just, your entire investment could go sideways. That's my thing with self-storage. My thing with mobile home parks is I've always just had this issue where if we buy a multifamily property and we renovate it and we bump the rents $100, and the tenant that was in there, their lease ends after a year, it goes up $100. They don't want to live there anymore. They just move down the street. No problem. They just, for the most part. If a mobile home park, you go in there, you up someone's rent $50. They have their $5,000 mobile home park on there. It cost them $5,000 to move down the street. They don't have $5,000. You could literally ruin people's lives by implementing a value add strategy. And so it's a very delicate balancing act to okay, I'm going to be, emotionally trying to say, okay, I need to turn a profit, but I also have to be a good steward of, as a person. I know some people who do it well, who do that balancing act, but I just don't. I couldn't do that.
Basically comes back to the understand what you're interested in, what are your personal strengths. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? What do you want to do? Because some people would have no problem with that. Other people would. I think what's cool when there's enough different ways out of real estate, different exit strategies, find something that fits you personality right. If it's something you don't like doing, skip it. There's something else. If there's something you do like doing, focus on it and do more of it.
And to touch on the parks, that is the bad stigma that's there, is that people are coming in and raising rent. I think some states have a certain amount now that you can even raise the lot rent because of that happening. And I agree with that being an issue. That's why I buy on current performance, not on what it could do, which is also why I'm a really picky buyer. But I don't do the parks either. I do what everyone forgets about, is the single unit, because there's really not that problem. We've taken over some tenants, and we've taken over some tenants with very small profit margin that were like $1,000 under market rent, knowing that eventually we'll get them up there, or eventually they will move out.
Well, that took a real serious turn. So let's lighten the mood a little bit and play a more fun drinking game. And so I'll pose a question to you. If you could fight one person to the death, and if you won that fight, you would switch lives with them, who would it be?
If you lose, do they have to take my life? Or if
No.
I lose, they take my life?
No.
Is there a vindictive angle?
I might give up just to screw somebody over, make them take over my life.
No, the stakes are high enough for them that if they lose, they're dead.
Okay.
I'm going to let you go first. I've never been asked a question like that. I love it's a new question.
If I were to fight somebody to the death and take
I mean, the
over.
obvious thoughts are like you look for rich people, right?
Sure.
Actors,
Somebody that has what looks
Jeff
like a really
Bezos,
easy life.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. I'm
Not
giant
for me.
fan
We
of
also
any
have to
of them.
consider, can you beat them up? Like, are you going to win?
Can I
Like,
take
I'm not going to fight The Rock. The Rock's worth a lot of money. But those odds, I'm not liking those odds.
I'm tempted to go back in time. You didn't have a time. It doesn't have to be a real live person. I think sometimes in the past things were a little bit easier, a little cleaner, little safer, a little better.
All right,
You had
bending the
good
rules. I
people,
see
that was
what it is.
I'm bending the rules, but why not trade places with a guy like John Wayne or something? Go back.
Wait, whoa. Are we talking about 30-year-old John Wayne or 70-year-old John
No,
Wayne?
fair
I would go 14-year-old just to make sure you win that fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could take John Wayne.
But if you lose, you lose. I mean, it's fight to the death.
Yeah.
You got to win.
Yeah. I hate to kill a hero. Look, I'm still looking that way. I'm going, go back in time. There's some of these big guys would be, it was a clean, simple, straightforward time. Everyone knew who they were. They knew what they were doing. It wasn't, I don't know. Sometimes the modern world's got a bit of garbage.
Okay, fair.
I'm going to go a totally different direction. Everyone I can think of, you've never heard their name. Because
I'd love to look it up after this.
they're just too busy living their life. They made some money in real estate. Most of them are real estate based. And they're not getting out there teaching. They're not getting out there doing all this flashy
consider,
stuff.
though, like the part of this equation is you're killing them.
Yeah, so then that's actually going to be more difficult because they're all my friends.
Exactly. That's where I was getting at.
Yeah.
It seemed like you admired these people. And I'm like, you got to consider, like, these people are going to be dead.
So yeah,
after
I
this.
can't do any of those people now.
See, I'm thinking, I don't even have a name because I'm thinking it's got to be one of those, like, 15 or 16-year-old TikTok stars who are making millions of dollars a month right now off of all this stuff. Like, that's got to be.
I don't believe half of them. I don't want to take over something I'm not really sure is real.
Yeah, well, you don't even have to do it for that long. You just switch and you have your whole life ahead of you again. You start again at 16.
Yeah. I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but I'm a fan of the fans and the environment and the marketing and everything to do with it. A NASCAR driver's life looks pretty cool. You're driving fast cars. You're a star. You get all the recognition. I don't know.
I mean, you only probably have, like, what, 6 or 7% chance of dying? It's like.
Yeah. I mean, I have that on a regular road probably. At least I'm having fun when I'm doing it.
In Florida,
RJ, you wouldn't answer this before. I want to hear the actual answer now.
Let me ask you, who's the best kicker in the NFL?
Oh, well, I just told you, Robbie Gould. He's going. He's going free agency. I looked him up. He made $5 or $6 million.
Can I take him?
Probably. I don't know.
This goes back to a previous episode where we talked. Where we
surprise.
talked about.
He still trains pretty hard.
Okay, maybe
I
not.
wouldn't roll the dice on that.
Okay, maybe Mark Zuckerberg. So hear me out. So one, he's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of influence. He's young, so I got more time ahead of me than I currently do, and I think I can take him.
Do you like his wife though? You got to take on the whole life.
But here's the thing. I mean, with how many billions does he have? I mean,
He can cut that in half.
Move on.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bezos did it. Right?
exactly, 100%. So there you go, Mark Zuckerberg.
All right, we'll do one more easy one. That's not as much of a debate. Would you rather, if you had to give up one, would you rather give up appetizers or desserts?
Appetizers.
Desserts.
We can eat together.
That's fine. Perfect. You get up, might as well take his appetizer. I don't like sugar. Makes me see spots.
One guess, Kyle.
Oh, you're giving up appetizers
No
for
doubt.
sure.
No doubt.
You're a dessert guy, Jay?
Yeah, I'm a dessert
Okay.
guy.
Oh yeah, that's the first thing we did when I flew in last night is we picked a place right next to the best ice cream place in the city.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
One of my friends says if you eat ice cream first, it's actually an appetizer.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, anything could be an appetizer, I guess, as
Yeah.
long as you eat it first.
As long as we don't got to kill the other guy to do it, that's
Yeah,
good.
but it's- there's no- there's no murdering involved in this one.
I probably would have. I would have been sappy and answered the question. My father, I think, had a great life. It was happy and met a great woman. It was happy and always knew he'd be taken care of. It was great. He was just kind of stoic and steady in the way that a lot of people aren't anymore. But he said I got to kill him. So that's
You know, going back
you'd have to be married to your mom.
yeah. There's all sorts of complications.
Going back to the last question, if I take out Pete, I get his ice cream shop, right?
Oh yeah,
That's true. So you could fight Pete, the ice cream guy.
Okay, you giving me something.
He does make some good ice cream. It's a
Yeah.
weird rules, but he makes a good ice cream.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
going dessert all the way too.
Yeah.
You could skip appetizers. Appetizers just like a mini meal. I can have mozzarella sticks for dinner. Hey guys, well this was a lot of fun. We appreciate you coming out and chatting with us, and we had some good discussions, and hopefully you'll come back. Can you give us a little bit more information how people get in touch, or if you want to plug anything? I see a couple things on the table there.
It's funny. We both brought books. Look at that. Hey. You can reach me at tomzeeb.com. It's a podcast and books and different types of trainings available.
You can reach me at adrians360.com, and it has all my social media, my books, everything I have is on there.
You haven't written any books, have you, Jay?
Nope. Can't reach me. Leave me alone.
Too many, you couldn't bring them all.
Too many. The stack too high.
All right, great. Well, we appreciate you guys coming out, and hopefully, we could have a couple more drinks and continue this off camera.
Sounds good.
All right.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Thanks.